Hello, checking in with The Innocents by Michael Crummy, his 2019 novel. This is tracks 9 to 11 plus a little bit of 12, which is good because, find out they survived. Um, One of the main things in this section of this brother and sister uh, scraping by in one of those bizarre little one house outposts on freaking nowhere, Newfoundland, somewhere on the coast where they've only known this cove their entire lives. This could be called, God, it could be called a couple of things. It could be called the Room, because this is their entire compass of thing, like Emma Donoghue with the daughter and their child, who the child was born into this room of this fucking horrible monster who had kidnapped the mother and gotten her pregnant, and she'd given birth to this kid in this room, and that's all the existence are known. That these two have only known this cove. Their family, who are not monsters, but just like living this just really hand-to-mouth thing where the mother, the father, and baby infant Martha all died. So yes, in these sections, I think I talked about in the last section that they'd found they'd found a wreck on the beaches and had scavenged it, and they'd also found a burial ground where they hadn't actually taken anything. Though actually, in this section, we learn that Ida actually had taken something from the burial ground, a single bone carved into like a feather shape, which she'd been hiding up in Martha's gravesite. But in this section, first, several years goes by. They've made a go of it through several years, but they get to, I think it's like he's like 14 now. She's gotten her period, and the ice, it freezes over hard. It's a hard winter. Everything freezes on the water, and they see a ship is frozen in the water, and they can see a light there. And I guess it's too dangerous to go out, or they don't go out. And then finally one day the light goes out and is no more, and they decide to risk it. Like, there might be scavenging stuff. And so they go out, and they go on, and they find a single guy who is, yes, he is dead. And there's a pot of something with fat and gook on the stove, and they throw it out because it smells really gross. And he's got a chest, and it's like, oh, jackpot, it's full of clothing and all that. And they're like, they build runners to, like, okay, we're going to take all the clothes because, like, salvage. We're basically just taking everything we can salvage, and the dead man's coat and all that stuff. It's just like, it's the kind of the thing. But in the end, they go down. He goes down below. Everett goes down below, and what he finds is, I think, this guy's larder. It's women and men. Can't remember if it's children. Chopped, bits of them chopped up, flayed off. The guy, did he murder all these people, or did he just resort to cannibalism at the end to survive? That freaks out Everett. Ada gets Ada to go over the side. It's like, the devil is chasing him. Flings the thing over. It smashes on the thing. He's about to throw himself over the side. She's like, you're going to kill yourself if you do that. You're going to break your legs. And so he goes off one of the narrower sides, goes off, and he's limping. And he tears off the jacket, and he just runs. He just does help. He just goes as fast as he can back to the thing. And in the end, she has to lead him because he's just kind of exhausted himself out. And indeed, by the end, I think he's like snowblind. He wakes up and his eyes are basically welded shut and hurt. And and he doesn't tell her of it, and she doesn't ask him of it because she knows something horrible has happened. But it really, um, really puts a pallor on them. And they seem to be getting scurvy, and um, when the and it's like when the ship comes in the next time with the Beetle and the crew, there's a boy there, and the boy in like Everett goes to the ship, and he knows the boy's like looking over, and it's like, oh, who's that other boy that you got there? The men ask. It's like, oh, that's not a boy, that's my sister. And the boy's this curly haired boy, Mr. Long Limbs, with all his teeth, unlike Everett now, is looking and staring over at him. And when he gets to the Beetle, he says like, well, you've been asking for a hand, someone to help you. Here's somebody. And Everett basically is like, no, we don't want anyone. And basically comes up with all the excuses. And basically it comes down to, he looks at him and he thinks about him, and he just gets this kind of, fecal pain in his gut about it. It's like he's jealous. He's like, I don't want this boy who's like looking at my sister that way to come, because he's jealous. And indeed, he doesn't take him. Even when the Beetle says, well, I know you respect your sister's opinion, why don't you go ask her? It's like, no, she'd agree with me. It's like, so yeah, it doesn't take him. And so they have another super, super hard winter. And I think things spoil, and they only get crap fish. And so that the next time the Beetle comes, they come there, and it's like, well, we should just ask. They can take us across to where the midwife is, and we can like maybe find work there. But he's there not very long, and he comes back, and it's like, no, it's been a hard winter for everybody, and they don't have anything for us. It's like, we don't get to see any of that, but you wonder if Everett actually asked or not. And they have provisions, but not really, even smaller, more meager provisions. It's like, how the hell are they going to get through winter? And unfortunately, men on the ship had sickness, and Everett gets it. He goes down with it and is feverish and delirious. And it's like Crummy talks about them. They passed each other in the hall, the hall of fever, him coming up, her going down. And he's like super weak. And, she's not doing well. And he sees a schooner out in the thing, and he kind of lights a torch, but it's like, they're not going to see the torch. So then he lights their storage thing and all that, and it just goes up. It's tinder dry stuff, and it goes up. And Mr. Trower and Mrs. something come, and they're now, and at the moment, Mr. Trower, who is sort of this retired Englishman who couldn't make enough money, to support himself on the thing, has come to Newfoundland with kind of borrowing money for enterprises, and now he's letting blood from Ada, and it's like, oh God, is this going to actually kill her quicker, weaken her, or whatever? But it's the accepted practice of this time. This is like 17th, 18th century, I would think, Newfoundland, and it's like, it's not 19th century. Let's just put it that way. And the good thing is yes, there's somebody there who's actually probably got supplies that they can supply them. The bad news is it's not 20th century medicine. It's definitely it's 19th or 18th century medicine, which is like, ugh, we'll see how it goes. But this is also this is all story of, it's their burgeoning sexuality, and it's like, it's the lighthouse, but with brother and sister. It's like, whoa. And they're pinned together, and they're in bed, And indeed, the day after the boy leaves, he's like, his penis, which, because there's no supplies, had basically stopped, um, springs back to life, and he's like, and they kind of grind on each other. Her maybe asleep, not. Sometimes she isn't. She isn't asleep. It's like, it's really gross. Um, and I'm just, why are we doing this? Kind of that sort of thing. But it's like, it's a brother and sister in a survival situation, but they're also kind of burgeoning sexuality. It's kind of, it's highly squicky, is how I can put it. I'm continuing on. It's really well written. I'm, where are we going with this, Michael Crummy? I'm sure we're going somewhere. Um, you know, piss and damnation, as she says, when she has a near death experience with a bear, and then goes and bathes in the water, and kind of, she sees her body, how it's transformed. She's becoming a woman, and he comes upon her, and it's like, she's wondering, it's like he's waiting for me to invite her, but she doesn't, and the next time she looks up, he's gone, and it's like, oh god, it's highly squicky and highly uncomfortable, and it's the innocence, but they're not innocent. The piss and damnation is definitely there, and a part of it is just biological, but it's biological in that way of like, your brother and sister, stay away from each other, and you need to be somewhere with other people, and that curly-haired boy might have been not that bad, except your brother probably would have killed him out of a jealous fit, and that wouldn't have been great either. So that is where we are with the innocence right now. It is highly gripping survival on the rocky, unforgiving shores of Newfoundland, just like really freaking brutal life. Much less for young kids on their own, which apparently is just how it is. I mean, he's probably getting to that point of age where he's actually would be considered an adult. And now we've gotten this Englishman and a woman who I'm not quite sure what her relationship to him is, and his ship, his schooner, have arrived here. Hopefully it'll be okay. I don't know. Probably not. Maybe it'll be less awkward. Who knows? I don't know. If she gets pregnant, I'm really going to be like, "Wah! This is disgusting. This is terrible. This is, uh, close-knit life on Newfoundland shores." Not putting any aspersions on any Newfoundland people with that statement. Just, everybody knows each other. Everybody's related to each other. You get that feeling. I don't know. That's ignorant British Columbian person speaking right now, who is, parents were fresh off the boat from England and Scotland themselves. I'm going to leave it there for tonight. Good night.